Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Yes, it's that time of the week again. It is Premier League predictions time. Another round of Premier League fixtures is upon us, throwing up some huge games at both ends of the table and throughout it as well, from top to bottom and everything in between. Some big and intriguing games are yet again upon us for another week. It's the final week as well before yet another international break, but it is the final one of the year. So I guess we just have to make do with that, whatever it may be. But before we get any further and before we go into making the predictions and looking at the games, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things will always and forever be greatly appreciated. But for now, let's get back into talking about this weekend's upcoming round of Premier League fixtures, beginning with Friday night's encounter. Yes, we're kicking things off with Friday night's game that will see Southampton take on Aston Villa. So fantasy football managers, make sure your teams are ready for this weekend as it starts off very early on Friday night. Last time out, the Saints picked up their second win of the season by beating Watford 1-0, whilst Villa got absolutely thumped by West Ham, with the Hammers running out as 4-1 winners in what seems to be another story of growing pressure going onto a manager in the form of Dean Smith at Villa Park. It's a big game, this one, for both sides. Both sides have been very inconsistent this season. Both sides have the potential, though, to hurt the other. So this one really could go any which way in a very tricky game to call. But if I'm going to have to give a prediction, I'm going to have to go for a draw here. I'm going to call it down the middle. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Skipping ahead a little to the first of Saturday's 3 o'clock games that we stumble across. And first up is Brentford versus Norwich. Both sides come into this game off the back of losses, with Brentford losing 3-1 to Burnley last weekend, whilst Norwich lost 2-1 to Leeds last time out. It's a huge game for both sides, this one. You don't need me really to tell you that. Brentford come into this game off the back of 3 losses on the bounce in the Premier League, whilst Norwich are, of course, rock bottom of the table and are in desperate need of getting some points on the board ASAP if they want to try and save their season. My prediction is that Brentford get back to winning ways here. I wouldn't be entirely shocked if Norwich managed to gain a point from this game, but I am going to go with the Brentford victory, and I'm going to say that the Bees come out as 3-1 winners. Top of the table, Chelsea clash with Sean Dyche's Burnley in our next game of focus at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea, as mentioned, are top of the table. They're 3 points clear after beating Newcastle 3-0 last weekend and seeing some of their rivals drop points, whilst Burnley picked up their first win of the season last weekend at the expense of Brentford last time out. This one should be one of the more predictable games to call this weekend, you feel. Chelsea should be winning this game and at least maintaining that 3-point gap at the top of the table. But Burnley always have the potential to be a very annoying and very frustrating kind of fixture and opposition for anybody. So they shouldn't be completely overlooked here. But on reflection of things, seeing things as a preview, the safe bet is on Chelsea for this game, and that's where I'm going to put my prediction on. I'm going to say that Chelsea come out of this one as 2-0 winners. Next, we're off to Selhurst Park, as that plays host to our next game of focus, which is Crystal Palace taking on Wolves. Palace shocked Manchester City last time out by beating Pep Guardiola's side 2-0, whilst Wolves beat Everton 2-1 on Monday night. It's an interesting game, this one, between two sides with relatively new managers who have made promising starts to new eras at both their clubs. Palace will be flying high off the back of last week's victory over Manchester City and have proven to be a very difficult side to beat this season or even play against so far during this campaign, whilst Wolves have played some good football so far this season and also are now starting to put the ball in the back of the net as reward for their good play. A result in which it could go any which way. I can definitely see either side going on to take all 3 points here, but I'm gonna go down the middle again. I'm gonna go for a draw in this game, and I'm gonna say that this game will end 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, Saturday's evening fixture, which will see the Seagulls clash with the Magpies at the Amex Stadium as Brighton host Newcastle. The Seagulls fought back from 2 goals down to draw 2-2 with Liverpool last weekend, whilst Newcastle lost 3-0 to Chelsea last time out and remain in the relegation zone. Brighton are currently sat nicely in the top half of the table, whilst Newcastle, like I say, are sitting worryingly in the relegation zone and are in need, and desperate need at that, of some points being on the board. The safe money here would seem to be Brighton. However, I wouldn't put it past Newcastle not to take a point from this game, but I'm going to have to go with a safe bet. I'm going to have to give Brighton the edge, and I'm going to say that Brighton come out of this as 2-1 winners. We now move on to Sunday's games, and first up, it's the Gunners taking on the Hornets as Arsenal meet Watford. Arsenal have put together quite a bit of a decent unbeaten run in recent weeks and recent months, as things are starting to look a bit more positive and a little bit more upbeat for Arsenal right now, with their latest result being a 2-0 victory over Leicester, whilst Watford, of course, lost 1-0 to Southampton last weekend. Interesting game, this one. Emirates Stadium. Arsenal are in good spirits with some good results in recent weeks, like I mentioned. Admittedly, I'm not entirely convinced right now with this whole Arsenal revival, this mini Arsenal resurrection, or whatever it may be, going on right now. But it'll be interesting to see how it does go on and how it does develop across the coming weeks and months to come. Whilst Watford, under a new manager, going through some very tricky fixtures right now, needing points on the board to keep them away from the relegation zone, mean that both sides have definitely something to play for. My prediction for this game, I think Arsenal would just about edge it, but again, I could see a draw happening just as much. I'm going to go with the Arsenal win. I'm going to say that 2-1 is going to be the scoreline in favour of the Gunners. Goodison Park plays host to our next game as Everton take on Tottenham, the first Premier League outing for new Spurs boss Antonio Conte that he will take charge of. Both sides come into this game off the back of defeats last time out, with Everton losing 2-1 to Wolves on Monday night, whilst Tottenham lost 3-0 to Manchester United in what was, of course, the final game in charge of Spurs for former manager Nuno Espirito Santo. The Antonio Conte Premier League reign of Tottenham officially begins. He returns to the Premier League a couple of years since managing Chelsea in the Premier League, of course. He's since gone on to Inter Milan, and now he's back in the Premier League for Tottenham, albeit rather surprisingly, I say you'd guess, from obviously the speculation surrounding Conte of the past couple of weeks. But he is here at Tottenham, and it's safe to say it's going to be a very interesting game on Sunday. It's going to be very interesting to see how Tottenham develop and try and resurrect their season, reignite their season going forward, with that man being the brains behind the operation. And like I say, this game will have a lot of buzz and a lot of hype and excitement around it from pundits and obviously Spurs fans as well alike. It's a big game ahead for Everton. They will definitely have their work cut out for them, and with that being said, I can only see a Spurs win here. I'm going to say 3-1 to the away side, with Antonio Conte picking up his first victory as the new manager of Tottenham. Marcelo Bielsa takes on Brendan Rodgers as Leeds host Leicester at Ellen Road. Next up, Leeds picked up their second win of the season last weekend with a 2-1 victory over Norwich, whilst Leicester lost 2-0 to Arsenal last time out. It's a big and intriguing game, this one, between two sides that have been pretty underwhelming so far this campaign, I think it's safe to say. They've both been pretty inconsistent. They haven't quite lit up the Premier League like they've done, or like Leeds did last season, and like Leicester have done in previous seasons gone by. Will the fact that Leicester have played midweek in Europa League action play its part here? It's definitely a factor to consider, in my opinion. But in saying that, I'm torn. I'm torn with this one. It could go any which way. I'm going to call it down the middle, though. I'm going to say that this game will finish 2-2 come the final whistle. And in our penultimate game, we're at the London Stadium as West Ham clash with Liverpool. A very exciting and interesting game ahead, this one. West Ham are flying high in the top four right now, with their latest result being a 4-1 victory at the expense of Aston Villa, whilst Liverpool, of course, drew 2-2 with Brighton last time out after throwing away a 2-goal lead. Like I say, it's an interesting game, this one. A tricky opposition for Liverpool to contend with here. They don't want to lose any more ground on Chelsea, of course, especially not going into the international break. But this game is not going to be easy. It's not going to be an easy task ahead. The Reds have a leaky defence and a leaky midfield that West Ham will be looking to capitalise on, especially the likes of Jarrod Bowen, Said Benrahma, and of course Mikel Antonio will be fancying their chances. But the Reds possibly will have the likes of Thiago Alcantara and Fabinho back within their ranks, which will be a huge boost for Jurgen Klopp's side. And of course, with Mohamed Salah currently in lethal form, they do have a very, 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 very good match winner within their squad as well. So it's going to be an interesting game, this one. I can't back against my team though. I'm going to have to go for a Liverpool win, and I think they'll just about edge out this game. I'm going to go 3-2 to the Reds. And finally, it's the main event of this round of fixtures. It's the biggest game of the weekend. It's on Saturday lunchtime. The Battle of Manchester. Manchester United in the red corner, Manchester City in the blue corner. It all goes down this Saturday lunchtime, like I say, at Old Trafford. It's going to be a massive Manchester derby on our hands. United go into the game off the back of a 3-0 victory over Tottenham last week, whilst Manchester City were beaten 2-0 by Crystal Palace last time out and are looking to get back to winning ways, of course. It's a derby, so it's time for the old cliche of form goes out the window, and it's all about who wants it more and who wants to take home not only just the 3 points, but also the bragging rights as well. City obviously go into this game as favourites, and remember the last time that we saw United play at home was of course during that embarrassing and humiliating 5-0 defeat at the hands of Liverpool. City will want to get back to winning ways from their Premier League game last weekend where they lost to Crystal Palace, and they will want to try not to lose any more ground and of course the current Premier League leaders in Chelsea, whilst of course United and Solskjaer are going for a pretty tricky patch right now and Solskjaer is under increasing fire. But we do know that Solskjaer has managed to prove that he has been a tricky manager for Pep Guardiola to overcome. United have been tricky opposition for City to overcome in recent times. And so this game really is going to be an intriguing and hopefully an exciting encounter ahead. My money and the save money obviously is on City. A draw is certainly possible. United definitely could upset City in this game, but I'm going to go with a safe bet. I'm going to go with a City victory, and I'm going to say that Pep Guardiola's side are going to run out as 3-1 winners in this game. But as I always say, this is just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of this weekend's upcoming round of Premier League fixtures? What do you make of the games? What are your own predictions and thoughts on the upcoming round of games in game week 11 of the new season? Who also do you see as being having a good weekend fantasy football wise? Who do you see having a good week and putting into your squad? Who do you see having a bad week and taking out of your squad this week? I'd love to know your thoughts, comments, opinions, and most of all, of course, your predictions on fantasy football and the upcoming round of Premier League fixtures. I'm sure they'll all make for interesting reading down in the comment section below. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and fun would be greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video.